begin this, I would like for all of you to please exhale, inhale, and begin to do the Om chant. Good enough. So, I heard that Dolores has a new man on the side. Oh, that's so like Dolores. You think her husband will find out about this one? I heard he already did, and that he's trying to get a mistress to make her jealous. Would serve her right. She's such a slut. I don't know how he could have ever married her to begin with. Aren't you glad you owned? So, what about judgment? Just about everything in this conversation between the two people was filled with judgment. You see, judgment sees what it wants to see, or what it thinks will fit into its value system. I know you have to hear this and probably read about it, because the chances are you've never engaged in judgment. But you see, it's good to be reminded of what judgment is, because what judgment does. It reveals things about us when we engage in judging. That if we allow ourselves to be present, we're going to recognize and perhaps even find that we get out of that conversation. So, what about discernment? Are the two the same? As a matter of fact, they're not. I'll give you an example of discernment, because I just gave you an example of judgment. Today, the sky is gray. Discernment sees what is. How can we learn to replace judgment with discernment? Perhaps one of the first things that will help you is to enter into a space of realizing that non-judgment can help you open up to discernment. Hold off on your immediate urge to label or judge. Just hold off. Because you see, discernment works from a place of deep neutrality. Not passivity, but neutrality. It allows the right action to come up when it's needed. But if you practice discernment, you're going to start realizing that in many instances, you don't need to say anything. It's ego that's so quick to jump in and be involved in the conversation. Whereas if you are discerning, you're going to make yourself available so that you can come up with a response, if it is appropriate, or just shut up. I know that's a killer, isn't it? But you see, you get more familiar with simply being present, so that you can allow your discernment to bring you accurate assessment as to what's going on. Discernment doesn't need to make a statement. As you become more familiar with discernment, you're going to notice that it gives you insight into what's actually occurring within yourself and within others. You may make some interesting discoveries that you'll see people act the way that they do because of experiences that they've had or influences that they've had, and you can recognize these influences have impacted this person. And you see, that's not judging. That's simply allowing your discernment to show you with clarity what is. But then, of course, you're going to come into contact with your beliefs. Because you see, we're just jam-packed with those. And if you look, and you look with an attending clarity, you're going to see that our beliefs, they're merely our personal interpretations of life. Our personal interpretations. That helps you to move away from feeling so convinced and convicted that your beliefs are absolutely accurate and that anything else is a misreading. Sometimes people will come across with attempts to help and encourage and to make that help and encouragement available. And to someone else who's not really being mindfully present, we'll look at that and say, I don't like that. Which is jumping right into judgment. When the help or the offering of it didn't have anything to do with you at all. It wasn't really asking you for your like or your dislike. If you're available with discernment, you're going to find that you come across in a very different way. And perhaps that way will be just letting it be. So, judgment shows our lack of understanding, and a lack of understanding that all things are connected. How can you possibly see that all things are connected if you're so caught up in judgment? How can you possibly see that all things have a purpose if you stopped right there at your judgment? How can you possibly see that all things have polarities if you're only seeing and staying stuck on one end of it? And self-love? How you actually engage in loving yourself is going to be revealed by how much or how little you engage in judgment. Because it's a fact. If you're casting out judgments on others, they're just a projection of what you've got going on inside yourself, which means you don't have much self-love there at all. But don't worry about it. And I say that because I'm not casting a judgment on you. I feel your reaction, but that's not where I'm coming from, because you see, everything passes. Everything changes. And that can include you too. You don't have to stay stuck in your judgments. You can move on out of it because it's a fact. Everything's going to move and change whether you do at the moment or not. Given enough time and enough opportunity, you're going to find you change and move too. Even if you wait until you move right out of here and change with a move, it'll still occur. I absolutely marvel at how wonderful you are as I experience you letting go of who you believe yourself to be and giving yourself the opportunity to move on beyond your judgments and move into a place of realizing all is well. Everybody has the opportunity to be who they are and as they are right now. As I can honor that, I can then embrace myself in a different way. I can look at myself from a different perspective. I can engage in appreciating me in what I might even consider my slight adjustments. Because you see, totaled, they add up to something truly meaningful, truly valuable. But it's up to you. This whole thing about judgment is so that you would carry the essence of the gossip conversation home with you and see how much you can improve upon it. This is just to see if you're paying attention. Because you see, sometimes what it is you get so lost in what you are trying to insert into what's coming forward that you miss the objective of this whole piece. and that is to help you help yourself. It's been a growth opportunity for me for the past 35 years to be here with you and to experience the changes that have occurred in my own life, that I have and shall continue to move farther and farther away from judgment and more into a place of actual discernment that then gives me a much greater appreciation of you, who you are, and what's going on, because then I'm allowing my discernment to operate without the judgment influence so filtering everything that comes through. So, what about judgment? Do we want to make the sky anything other than the way it is today? Or can we find that it's okay, seeing it's going to be that way anyhow? And the same is true with me, the same is true with you, the same is true with anyone else. It's going to be the way it is until it changes, and that's still being the way it is. Thank you very much. For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.